These are my shoes. I've had them for about 3 years and they're finally starting to show their age. Most of the fabric is ripped up, the soles are all rotted out, and the tread is pretty much completely gone. These shoes have been with me for a while. They've been a part of every single one of the videos and they've literally carried me hundreds of miles. So as one last hurrah, why don't I see how quick I can get them going? As a baseline, why don't we see how quick they're moving right now? Now the answer is 0 miles an hour. I'm not moving at all, and obviously they're not going quickly. So the first thing that immediately comes to mind for me in terms of making my shoes faster would be to turn them into roller skates. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I have a good collection of spare parts, and a bunch of those spare parts include different types of wheels. So maybe I can make these work in a unique way to make my shoes a little bit better than they currently are. I have a couple different kinds of wheels, and the ones that are seeming immediately useful to me are these rotating caster wheels that I have here. I also have 2 of these lower quality rotating caster wheels, along with a bunch of other wheels that all came off of the rowing machine. In terms of mounting them to the actual shoe, I have a lot of random metal plates and just cut off bits that I used for the go-kart project and I've used for other projects in the past, that I can probably modify to fit on or in the shoes to provide some structural support to the whole system and get everything working. So at this point, it's really just going to be sorting out the materials that I actually have and seeing what's going to work for this design. The roller shoes are starting to come together. They both have wheels on the front end that function. I mean, they're not perfectly rigid. That's kind of hard to do with how dead the soles of the shoes are. But it should be rigid enough. Now, ideally, I would like to have 2 more back wheels on these, but the back wheels that I have are already very, very wide. And that might be just enough to make everything work. My idea is that I'm probably going to hold these together with pieces of scrap wood, just because I have so many and they're so easily accessible. And that should make a pretty rigid bracket here that I can then attach to other things. I have made them. Trash skates, Mark 1. They look so goofy. They stand on their own power though, which is a really good sign. I think they might be sturdy enough, maybe. So now it's time to test and put them on my feet to see if I can actually stand in them without immediately falling over or losing my balance completely. Let's see how that goes. Alright, I see a problem here with our front wheel. We're a little bit more unsteady than I would like to be. This is a problem. Yup, this is not quite sturdy enough to support my weight in a way that works, and there goes that bracket. At this point, I realized my design had some major flaws, so I had to go back to the drawing board to see if I could fix things up. After much deliberation and testing, Mark II of the trash shoe rollerblade device is done. This actually works. Basically what I realized is that the back section worked pretty well. The issue was the rotation of the front section. So to solve the rotation, I basically just copied what I did on the back and moved it to the front. The other issue I was having is that the shoe itself was way too floppy. And to solve that issue, I simply put a piece of wood going the length of the shoe to make the whole design much more rigid. This supports my body weight, so now all I have to do is copy the design over to shoe number 2, and I should have functional trash roller skates, which is very cool. I'm excited to see how quick I can get these moving. My guess is not fast, just because of how terrifying they are, and I have a feeling that as soon as I get any appreciable speed, the whole design will just explode into little pieces. So to prevent myself from getting catastrophically injured, I'll generally ease my way in to see how they actually work. But now I need to actually design the parts for the second shoe, and then I will give them a test. Let me make sure all of the nails are in the proper positions. They are. Everything looks good. Hopefully everything is functional here. And now it's time to put on my trash skates. Oh yes, this is actually it. Now we're actually sturdy. These don't feel like they're immediately going to shatter under my weight, which is kind of what you would hope for. So I might actually be able to get some, woo! Almost getting some motion there. Yeah, these suck. Let's move on to something new. Even I have to admit that that was not the best idea I've ever had. I mean, they barely even worked while I was wearing them and did have quite the tendency to just explode on me. I mean, I got a better result just throwing the shoe across the ground than I did actually wearing them, as you can see. So I think it's time we move on to something a little bit quicker. And I mentioned throwing, but what if we threw them in a sort of mechanical way? I'm talking about building a catapult to give these things a bit of a launch. Now the exact type of catapult I'm using is called a torsion catapult, and it works by having a string or a piece of rope or something elastic under tension around the launching arm. But I'm going to scour my materials, see what I actually have, and then start constructing this thing. This is the basic setup for the frame. So the idea here is that we are going to have our rope that will be going through these beams on either side here, like this. And then what will happen is this will get twisted up. We'll have an arm that will be back here, that'll be held down in some way. And then when that is released, this will twist forward this way and hit a stopper somewhat up here. While I was building the frame, I also wound up the wire and attached the launching arm to the catapult. As you can see here, we're starting to get quite a bit of tension on this, and this really wants to flick forward now. I think logically I can probably put a handful of more twists in this wire, but I don't want to stress it too much. I mean, for perspective, I could put the shoe on this right now as the most basic launch method and launch the shoe a little bit, but I think we can do a bit better than that. So the several other mechanisms that I really want to add here is one, a stop for this to prevent it from flinging all the way forward, and two, a catch mechanism back here so I can safely be a distance away from the launch, pull a pin, and have this ready to go. So once I achieve those two steps, this should be just about ready. Oh, also a bucket for the shoes to rest in, so they aren't just stuck on the end of the post here. So once I achieve those things, this will be basically finished and ready to go. That looks good to me. This design seems basically finished for the time being. So I'm gonna get it into position, get myself into a safe position behind some sheets of plywood so I don't have any mishaps, and then we can give it a test, see how far I can launch my shoe. I'm set up in my little protective area behind some plywood, so in case anything goes wrong with the test, I won't be injured in any way. But I've got my cable here, and I am ready for the big test. All I have to do is pull this, and we'll be good to launch. So counting down in 3, 2, 1, go! So clearly, that was not quite what I was looking for, and there's a very clear issue to why that was. So I thought this may be a problem, but it's a very easy one to fix. So as I mentioned earlier, when there's something in the catapult, it will release whenever it hits its stopping point. The stopping point on this one is here, which throws the shoe down this way, which is not where we want it to go. We want it to at least go straight this way. So what I'm going to do is attach a couple of blocks here, potentially something like this, just to change the stopping point. Having fixed this problem, I was ready to see what the catapult could do. Okay, test 2, 3, 2, 1, launch! Firing in 3, 2, 1. Test 4, 3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1. In 3, 2, 1. Well, the catapult worked quite well. It did its job, successfully launching my shoes super fast. Obviously the design could have been better, but considering it was built completely out of trash, I think I did a pretty decent job with it. Now, it's time to retire the shoes in a way that almost every old shoe is retired in. I had a lot of fun building Catapult. It was literally the first time I've ever tried to do something like that. But luckily, everything worked out quite nicely with the Catapult, with the skates, and ultimately with the shoes. So as a final send-off here, let's get these laces tied to each other and bring the shoes where they need to go. And let's give these shoes their proper retirement. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are interested in some more behind the scenes content, kind of seeing how this whole project came together and where my headspace was at when I was making it, consider checking out my Patreon, link down below. But thank you so much for watching, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video.